Good afternoon and welcome to the Living Well radio program. You can find us here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. on KATB 89.3 in Anchorage as well as KJLP 88. Excuse me, let me start that over again. KJLP 88.9 in Palmer. You can also catch us online at katb.org. My name is Cammie, and I'm always joined by my lovely friend Betty. Cute over there with her headphones again. She's being such a good girl this month.
I am, but Cammie, that's so loud it made my eyes water.
It did. I don't even want to know the biology behind how that happens.
I don't know, but I'm just thinking, wow, that's loud.
I just blasted you out of
You
here,
did.
didn't I? See, now you know what I'm tolerating over here at work because I wear my
I feel
headphones
bad
all
for
the
you
time.
now.
You do.
I never knew what you were going through.
Do we need to change our music? Is that what you're saying?
No, I like that music.
You still like it? It kind of gets your groove going, doesn't it?
Makes me tap my foot and nod my head.
We need to come
at
up
the
with
same
some...
time, and that's pretty talented.
All right, let's get down to it because we don't want to waste any time that we have here today. We are joined by two wonderful ladies, Beau and Teresa. They are both missionaries that are serving at the Alaska Dream Center. And we had the Alaska Dream Center on some time ago, not too long ago.
A couple of months ago.
You want to remind our audiences a little bit about what that is real quick, Betty?
The Alaska Dream Center is located up past Wasilla, and it is going to be a home for women that are recovering from drug addiction or alcoholism. It's a 12-month program. It's free, and it is faith-based. They will teach the women life skills, but they also, the main focus is teaching them God's Word and how to apply it to their lives and focusing on helping them get back into society.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. And once again, we have got Beau and Teresa here in the studio who, again, are missionaries serving in this wonderful ministry. And they are here today just to essentially share their journey of what brought them to Alaska and a little bit of the behind-the-scenes look at just the process of getting here and how God called you to this area to be serving. So thank you, ladies, for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here today. And I do want to just to mention to our audience that we have what's the instrument we have in our studio today?
A ukulele.
Yeah. So stay tuned to see what that's all about because
I
Betty
know what
may
it's
or may
about.
not be playing.
Oh, yeah, you definitely want to stay tuned if I'm singing.
Is that what's going to happen? You're going to sing
not
and
telling.
Beau's going to play?
I'm not telling you.
So they got to stay
listen.
tuned to
That's
see
right.
what's going to be happening here. If only this was videoed.
Oh, that would just, the thought in my mind and the picture in my mind, it just, we just need to stay tuned.
I can tell this is just going to be funny today. All right. Say hi to everybody, ladies.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Thank you. And if you wouldn't mind just each kind of taking a turn and let our audience help get to know you guys today. Give us the 411 on Teresa and Beau, just a little bit of your backstory and the basics.
Okay, my name's Teresa, and I grew up in Maryland. And 10 years ago, I moved to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and I started a residential home for girls there named Meadows of Hope and left there last fall. And then, as I'll be telling you later on today, I found my way up here to Alaska. But I am 44 years old and single and have just had a great life serving the Lord. And my heart, the thing that makes my eyes sparkle more than anything else, is to see lives transformed by the power of the gospel.
Amen. And Beau?
Hi, I'm Beau. I work at the Dream Center with Teresa. That was a really good, you said really pretty things. I feel like that's really hard to follow. I am 20 years old. I am also
You just turned
single.
20.
I did. I just turned 20. I think that's probably the first time I've gotten to say that out loud. That felt weird. But I work at the Dream Center. I grew up here in Alaska. My parents are pastors, so we've moved quite a few times, though. Kind of been all over. But I've been in Arizona, and I just moved back in July. And I hooked up with Rob and Therese Heislip, who run the Dream Center, and I've been there ever since. So, yeah.
I got to tell you, these ladies are a lot of fun. I went to a retreat they had up at the Dream Center just about 6 weeks ago, I think it was. And we had such a great time. The way they decorated, we went glamping.
Yeah.
Maybe later they'll talk about what glamping is. Yes. And I know that Beau helped Therese make all the decorations. Mm-hmm. I believe Teresa helped with the cooking. Wonderful meals. We had a mystery dinner. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was... Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, I got a fork and a napkin and some salsa and a plate. That was my first course.
Really?
Yeah. Uh-huh. It just got better after that.
It did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too funny.
I had a great time. At that time, they had no heat at the Dream Center, but now they have heat.
We just got our heat a week ago. Thank the Lord.
Really?
They did. Not all the bathrooms had hot water, so it was cold showers.
And
We had a
yeah.
great time. It was cold. We had bonfires.
We painted
and
rocks.
We painted rocks. Yes, we did. And she had Cherise had painting classes, and Teresa did a bread making class. I failed.
I did a
I failed.
I did a songwriting class and no one came.
So maybe nix that idea next time, huh? That's funny. We all have those moments. I love it.
I had
That's
a good
great.
time by
Yeah.
myself.
You had a good time in your class by yourself? Is that
By
what you said?
myself, yeah.
God just wanted you to have some alone time.
Yeah, yep.
Maybe you were
Thinking of-
supposed to be writing another song.
Right, yeah.
She is a songwriter, and
I
so she
would
will
imagine.
probably sing one of her songs
I will.
later.
Oh, now you just gave away the surprise.
Oh, I forgot.
Okay,
Me
that's
and my
it.
mouth.
She's gonna sing. You're playing the ukulele. Okay, I had it backwards.
No, actually, Betty's gonna interpretive dance all of my songs for me.
Now
Oh,
everybody's
my
going to
goodness.
want to see a video of this.
Oh, I'm total. Don't worry, everybody. Listen up. I will be videoing that. Okay, do not worry. It will happen. So, Betty, I'm going to let you take us from here, just because I don't know where you want to get started. I know there's so many details and facets to what you want to have these ladies share today.
Oh, goodness, I really don't even know where to start either. How about if you tell us how you met Cherise, how you got involved with the Dream Center?
Okay.
Who wants to go first?
I guess I'll go first. It's kind of a long prologue to how I met Cherise. My parents have known the High Slips, but we've never really run on the same circles with them, so I've never actually met them before, but I knew who they were, and I had heard of the Dream Center, and I'd seen some stuff from it when I lived in Alaska before, and then my family left the state, and so when I was living in Arizona, just to share some of my story, when I was 16 years old, I became the victim of rape. And that was incredibly hard on my family, and as most and all victims do, really, most don't see it for what it is at first, and so that sat as a secret for a long time. And then my senior year of high school, right before I graduated, was when I began to see it for what it was and talk to my parents about it. And the road to healing that my family has been on has been insane, and so we just felt like it was time to come back to Alaska, to come home, and just to take a time to be refreshed and to kind of get away. And I had really been praying, because I know, you hear people say God's going to turn your hardship around for his glory, but it's hard to feel like he's going to do that and to see how that's going to happen. And I had just been really struggling with a lot of why questions, and just not seeing how God's plan for my life was going to come together. And it was a struggle for a while, and I ended up, I was in college in Phoenix, Arizona, and then just felt like that wasn't where I was supposed to be, and so I made the decision to not go back to school, and I just felt like everything in my life just kept getting canceled over and over again. And then I felt like God wanted me to come back to Alaska, but I don't like cold, so I didn't want to come back to Alaska. And but I submitted and said, okay, I'll go, having no idea what was going to happen when I got here, and totally underestimated what God was going to do. And so my family really needed somewhere to stay, though, and we hadn't found a house yet, and so my parents knew that Rob and Therese had a lot of connections, and they asked them if they knew of anyone that would let us stay with them, and they said, well, we have this big 4-story building that's our soon-to-be women's facility that's empty, so you can come stay there. And just being there physically brought so much healing to my family, because the women's center is up in the mountains, and so to be tucked away in this place that's so saturated with the presence of God was so healing for us. And we just kind of got this time to be a part of this ministry and to be ministered to by Rob and Therese, and it just brought a lot of healing to us. And then while I was there, and I shared my story with Therese, and just talking about how I, wanted to find a way to turn that around for the good of God's plan. And So she talked to me about maybe coming out every once in a while and helping when we had women there, because a lot of the women that we're going to be ministering to have similar abuse in their past, and it's good when you have someone to look to that is on the other side of that and says, you know, God can heal you and restore you and purify you and turn that around. And so I decided that I wanted to stay and work at the Dream Center, and so I asked if I could come join their team as an intern, and so I've been there, and now I'm there full time, and I live out there, and so that's kind of how I got connected there with them. So
Thank you for sharing. And there's many pieces of that we want to dig into, but we want to give Teresa an opportunity to share too, to tell us how you met these wonderful people with Alaska Dream Center.
Well, it's an interesting connection because between Robin, Sharice, and myself, we have no common acquaintances, no common crossing over of our worlds. And there's like, we didn't know each other at all. We don't know anyone who knows the other person. It's just a supernatural thing that got us connected. When I left Meadows of Hope last fall, it was the hardest decision I'd ever made to resign, because I loved what I was doing and would have been content to stay there for the rest of my life. But God had this clear call away, and I left and moved back home with my father to help him with some projects that he had wanted help with for a long time. But I knew I would be finished the end of May, and I didn't know what was next. I had no plan B. I was just following the Lord. It felt like God had called me. There's this current worship song, Good, Good Father, that I just love. And it talks about God being a good father, like, just because that's who he is, and not because the circumstances in our lives prove that he's a good father, but because that's his very character and nature, and that's who he is. And so his goodness interprets our circumstances rather than our circumstances interpreting his character. And that was huge for me. But then the rest of the song says, and I'm loved by you. That's who I am. Period. The end. And it was like God was asking me, Teresa, is my love enough for you? And can you have that as your identity? And can you walk away and lay down titles and influence and position and prestige and walk away from all of it and just be my daughter? And my head said yes, but my heart felt empty. And so I did. I handed in my resignation, and I walked away, and I moved home with my dad, and had no idea what was next, except that there's this sort of expectation of an increased intimacy with God. And he just surprised me at every turn with joy. And it's just been such a wonderful journey, and so unexpected, because I expected for it to be dark after I left something I loved so much. There's kind of this saying that where your passion meets the world's need is the sweet spot. And that was mine. My passion, skills, and the world's need all met there when directing this Home for Girls. And I worked with teen girls for many, many years and just love it. But anyway, so I left and I went home and I was with my dad. And then he had a friend call him and ask him if my dad he's a retired truck driver. He used to own a trucking company. Ask him if he could bring some stuff up to Alaska for him, tractor trailer load of stuff. And Dad said, yeah. And he's like, Teresa, will you go with me? And when I was 21, my mom had died when I was 21. And so for 4 years, I had my CDL and drove with my dad. And so I was like, sure. And I went back into and I was living in Pennsylvania at the time. I went back got my medical and went over to PennDOT and got my permit and did all of that in a day and went home to Maryland. And by midnight, we were starting for Alaska. Wow. It all happened just like that. And so we drove up to Alaska in December. And
December.
By the way, that's not the best time of year to do that.
Thankfully, we had no major snowstorms. But yeah, your shoulders get really tight driving 1,000 miles on snow-packed roads with the big rig.
Yeah.
But we came up. It's 4,600 miles. And we came up and we got here the week before Christmas, I think. Yeah, we got here the week before Christmas and delivered the load and then just stayed for a week and a half. And my dad had already bought a piece of property up here, wanting to build a cabin up here, and he had a vehicle up here, so we sort of had a place to stay. He had a piece of property in Willow, so he took me up to the Talkeetna Roadhouse because he said, Teresa, I love the Roadhouse. You've got to experience the Roadhouse. So we went up there and ate breakfast up there and just had a great time. And then they said, oh, yeah, by the way, we have a community potluck on Christmas Eve. And I was like, okay, now that's cool. A community potluck in a little town. And I was like, Dad, Talkeetna is like your closest town. And these people are going to be your neighbors, so we need to come back. And we didn't know anyone. I mean, not one person. And so we came back on Christmas Eve to this potluck and had a fantastic time, just meeting all the locals and talking to them. And at that potluck was an older couple that Roger and Diane, and they just talked to us. And when they heard what I had been doing, they were like, you need to talk to Rob and Sharice Heislip. They just are in the process of getting a piece of property in Willow that they are going to turn into a rehab center for women. And so I was like, okay. And I called them. It was Christmas Eve when we were at the potluck, and so Christmas was on Friday, so I called him Saturday morning, and Rob answered his phone, and he was in a staff meeting, so he said, I'll call you back in a little bit. And Dad and I were planning to head out of Alaska on Sunday, head for home again. But Rob and Sharice just invited us to come up, and we're like, we're way up here, we may as well go meet this couple. And so we went up to their home in Palmer on Sunday evening, where they run a center for men. And spent 4 hours with them, and our spirits just connected. And it was just an amazing time together. And I went home, and by New Year's Day, I was home by New Year's Day, and on New Year's Day, I made a list of all the places that either had offered me a position or that I was thinking about volunteering at. And there was 11 places on the list. And I was so overwhelmed. I didn't even know how to begin to decide. But here I am at the Dream Center months later.
Wow. And so that was just this last December?
Yes.
Really?
Like it's so supernatural because there is no crossover of our worlds. I'm an East Coast girl. They've always been on the West Coast. I'm a Mennonite girl. They're Assemblies of God. We don't know people in common, nothing. And even since I've been up here, we have not found crossover.
Really?
But God put us together, and we serve the same God, the same spirit. There's just a sisterhood and a brotherhood. It's been amazing serving with them.
I know. It's an incredible story, isn't it?
Yes.
Very incredible.
Definitely. And so, Beau, how long have you been up here? I was trying to track the timelines of back in Alaska anyhow.
I've been here since July, so 4 months.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. We got two.
New Alaskans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
so
is too cool.
It just felt really quick, like God just knew.
So
and it
y'all
was
are making a
perfect
lot of
timing.
money up here.
Oh.
Being the mission.
Yeah.
That's the reason you came, right?
They can hardly gather themselves. They're laughing so hard at that.
That's the second part to this supernatural story, because I've always had a paycheck, and coming to the Alaska Dream Center is a totally volunteer position. And so for the first time in my life, I'm not getting a paycheck. And for a responsible Mennonite single girl, that feels pretty far out. And was just a whole new journey of faith for me. But God has provided for every need. But it is totally a volunteer position.
Can you share with our listeners some of the things that you have done at the Dream Center? Because I want them to understand that this has been a work in progress. You all have worked very, very hard. Probably done things you never thought you'd be doing.
We vacuum stairs a lot. I'm just kidding, but we do.
Well, it's fun being part of a place taking a place, like one of the things I love about the Dream Center is there's a coffee shop on the grounds. And the coffee shop had been named Last Chance Coffee Shop because it was your last chance to get coffee before you went over Hatcher's Pass. But we renamed it Second Chance Coffee Shop because it's about second chances, and God always gives us second chances. And so there's multiple things that are going to happen in that coffee shop. It's also a gift shop where the women will be able to make stuff for wholesale retail. as well as learn to be baristas, since that's a huge thing in Alaska. And plus, Kaladi Brothers coffee is just good. And
Yay, I got a coffee drinker in the house.
Finally, she says. Finally.
But that building was a mess. And it was full of dead animals and feces and stuff all over it. And when Rob and Sharice first walked in, Sharice was like, there's no way. We just need to burn this thing down. But Rob thought there was a way. And so they completely gutted it and took everything out, took the trim off, sanded the trim down and refinished it because that got rid of the smell, took the floors all the way down. And then just redid everything in there. And everything that we redid in the coffee shop is all secondhand because it's Second Chance Coffee Shop.
That
and
is neat.
It's just been really cool. And also, we're volunteering our time, so we had more time than money. And so some of the things in there, Sharice is an artist. And so we went to do the floor in the coffee shop. It took us a long time. And got calluses on our knees. Wish I could say it was from prayer, but it was really from doing the floor. But the floor in the coffee shop upstairs, the men from the Palmer Center milled wood and made this beautiful milled wood floor upstairs. But downstairs we painted it with we painted it first with Kills to just seal it, and then we put on this gray porch paint that gave the floor this nice solid first coat of paint, and then we put on Elmer's glue and a white paint, and then when the glue dried it kind of cracked and gave it this vintage look, and then over top of that we put some brown, streaked it on to make it look like boards, and then painted in black marks to make it look like your old vintage boards, and it actually looks pretty good, but it was a ton of work. And then just clear coated it. So that's some of the things that we've been doing, refinishing the furniture for the coffee shop, and then just helping out wherever we can, whether that means picking up rocks in the river to use in the floors, vacuuming the stairs forever on and on because they get dirty.
Because there's no elevator on this 4-story building.
No. And the kitchen is at the top. So every day we run 3 flights of stairs multiple times a day.
How are your calves looking?
Somebody told me they lost 10 pounds.
Really?
That was me. I lost my freshman 15.
You did. By the way, I want our listeners to know, because Beau shared just a little bit about her story, and we obviously want to hear more about that. And so we are going to have a part 2 to this show, because right now we're going to kind of focus on the Alaska Dream Center, but stay tuned next week to hear Beau's story as well. I know that that's going to be very inspiring and encouraging to other listeners, so stay tuned for that. But I want to find out from you, Teresa, how did your dad feel about your 11 options that you were weighing? What was his insight to that? And then how did he feel about your final decision to come all the way back up to Alaska?
Well, on the way up here, Dad had said, Teresa, any chance that you might come up next summer and help me build this cabin? And I just said, Dad, I need a job sometime. And there's no work, no jobs to be had in rural Alaska. And if I'm going to live in the city, why bother? Because I want to be up here with you. And there's nothing happening in Willow. And so when we met Rob and Sharice, and there was this home getting ready to open in Willow, and it's right down the things I'm passionate about, Dad was all in favor. There was still things that had to line up for me, but everything did. And I think it was about in the end of February or March when I made my decision to follow Dad up here to Alaska. So he was thrilled with the decision. And the fun thing is, he came up here to build his cabin, but he got sucked into volunteering at the Dream Center too, and loves it. And he's actually planning to go home and sell the house at home and move out here permanently at this point. So I'm super excited about that because my dad volunteers at Palmer with the Men's Center, and he loves it there, and they love having him there. They had asked him if he could stay on through the winter, but we have things that he needs to go back and do. So I'm thrilled. That is like a whole God story in itself. My dad is 73, so he's not young anymore, but it's so ideal to have something like that with purpose that you can do when you're that age. And yeah, Dad's loving it, and I'm loving it, and just thrilled.
You know what I'm thinking of, Betty, is when we had Charisse and Jeff, is it right, her husband?
Rob.
Oh, Rob, sorry. And get that right. Thank you. But just having them here and sharing, just vaguely, I remember them sharing the story. And I don't think they used Teresa's name, but I remember them sharing how somebody from the East Coast had traveled all the... And then I'm thinking, I don't remember when that show was, but Beau wasn't even probably up here yet, and just how we were praying for the needs of the Alaska Dream Center. And then here we sit as kind of a follow-up to all of that. Just to see God's work through all of that is awesome.
And they're anticipating opening soon, I think.
Yeah, we're hoping it. We keep having problems with our building, but that's something that we can work around. But we're right now we're working on our curriculum to get the curriculum ready. We'd love to have at least one more staff member, but we can work around that too. But we have 2 other staff members now that have come out, and it's been so cool when you're saying how it's kind of just we've all kind of clicked together. It was cool when the more staff members we started to have to kind of see where we all fit, and we all fit really well together in this team, and it kind of became clear where everybody's roles were and where our strengths fit, and it was cool.
Who's taking care of the animals?
Wendy Lane, she's one of our staff members. She just got here. She's from Wisconsin, and she is a massive animal lover. And so she is right now, her and then we have one of the graduates from the men's center. He graduated 5 years ago. He kind of is a groundskeeper out at the Willow Center. He helps take care of the animals too. But
there's plans for a big garden next year, isn't there? I saw where they had all the land cleared off.
Yeah.
And when we were up there for the retreat, Charisse was collecting eggs where the chickens would just lay the eggs wherever we happened to be, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah,
to see that.
Find them.
They just pulled everything out of the ground in Palmer. So last week I was canning like over 40 heads of cabbage.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
we harvested our garden in Palmer. It was cool.
What did you do? Just make kraut with the cabbage?
Actually, Charisse had canned some last year that they really liked with just like bell peppers and onions and cabbage all together in a jar. And so that's what we did. It's really good.
Yeah.
So tell us what glamping is, everybody. Or
glamping.
tell me, because I'm the one that wasn't there.
Glamping is a fun term for glamour camping, and so it's where you put a tent up, and we have these really nice like army tents that were donated, and they're huge, and so we use that. But you put a big tent up, and you can do it for whatever setting you want. We did a dining setting, but you basically fill it with like formal dining room furniture and decoration, so it's like having a dining room outside, and it's really cool, and it's really, really pretty, and it's kind of this like extravagant camping thing. So we did, when we had our women's conference, we did a glamping dinner, and so Charissa and I and one of the other interns, Elaine, she's in Pennsylvania right now, but she's coming back in January. She was there to help with the conference, just to visit for a week, and so she helped us, and we decorated it with flowers and dried leaves and all these fall colors, and we made Charisse and I made these really cool chandeliers.
Beautiful. It was gorgeous. I'll have to put a picture on Facebook.
Yeah, it was really fun. So it was it was my first time. Yeah, we strung lights through everything, and it was really, really fun and pretty.
It was beautiful. We were all taking pictures and oohing and ahhing about it, and the food was delicious. And I think we're about out of time. Do we have time for Beau to sing her song, or should we do it next segment?
Let's do it. Let's do it next segment. Okay. Does that sound okay?
We'll start off with that.
Okay, sounds good. And so that we want to thank you guys so much for coming in today and just sharing a little bit of your journey here to Alaska. Thank you for choosing Alaska to come and serve and bring your gifts. It's just exciting to hear how God's using you in this part of the country, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having us.
Be sure and listen next week for part 2.
Yes, stay tuned for part 2 to hear more about Beau's story. Thank you, ladies.
Yeah.
And that is another Living Well radio program. And once again, you can find us here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. on KATB 89.3 in Anchorage, as well as KJLP 88.9 in Palmer. You can also catch us online at katb.org. See you next Wednesday.